Free socks.
The NHL playoff picture is still up in the air, but here in Winnipeg, fans are confident the arena will echo with the sound of white noise again.
Free socks.
Let's go! Go, Jets, go! Winnipeg is back in the big leagues and over the moon.
Welcome back to the first landing strip presented by From Financial. Mikey, I'm getting a lot of echoing in my ear. Sorry about that. Your boys at Top Line are back for the post-game experience with the Winnipeg Jets, and not how we wanted to start 2025 off, I would imagine. Though, I gotta say, the chat's buzzing with some humor over out on YouTube. But a lot to talk about in this hockey game. Mikey, how are you doing?
You know, I've been off on the LTIR the last little bit, healing up with some health stuff. But you know, I'm back. I've got the no contact jersey shed. I'm ready to get back in the game. So this was an interesting one to start off with the new year. We're gonna get into all of it. So yeah, I'm just glad to be back.
Hey, we're glad to have you. Glad to hear you're feeling better. I know it's mentioned in the chat. It's been a while. We didn't get to do the New Year's episodes. And hey, we'll let you take the blame for the New Year's one, but I think I left you high and dry during that Nashville game with the little sweet experience I had at that game. No one wanted to hear what I had to say after that game with the state I was in, so we're not going to just throw you under the bus, Mikey. I got to take some credit for that miss as well. Look. I hope the audience had a great New Year's. Everyone stayed safe. Looking forward to seeing a lot of the same names in the chat. And not the game I was expecting to talk about tonight, if I'm being honest with you. I got to say, a bunch of us degenerates that like to bet on this stupid sport for some reason, we're piling high on the Winnipeg Jets to compile points and to win by 2 goals. We didn't quite get that, and I thought we were well on our way to it with that early 2-0 game. What stands up to you the most? And we're getting a little bit of too quiet over on YouTube on my mic here, Mikey. Let me know what I need to do here.
Yeah, actually, we're having some weird audio issues in general that I can see. I'll see if I can get you turned up in the meantime.
Sorry about that, folks. First show of the new year. We had to have some trouble. I can start yelling if you want.
Right? I mean, you might have to after that game.
Anything I could do on my end here, buddy. Thank you to the chatters for letting us know about the volume, and we'll work on that here. Let me know if you can hear me, Mikey. I'll keep talking here for a little bit here.
Yep.
And chat, if it gets better, please let me know. Mikey, you sound good according to the chat, so that's good. So I'm gonna yell here for a second. Is Nik yelling helping at all? And I'll go on a little soliloquy here on this game here. But me and Jordan, I got to take Jordan in this game. As you're well aware, if you've listened to Top Line over the last couple of years, Jordan's my younger brother, who was a Ducks fan before the Winnipeg Jets made their way back to Winnipeg. So got to take him there. Unfortunately, he was rocking the Leo Carlsson jersey, though I can't say I blame him. Really nice kit they got there. But we walk in 30 seconds, the Winnipeg Jets top line start this one, and you know, the vibes are just feeling great. You had duck calls in the section 308, which was a wild experience to hear throughout the game. You had a bunch of kids chanting for the Ducks to just quit, and the Anaheim Ducks clawed their way back at 2-0. I thought this game was done off of that Adam Lowry, Alex Iafallo 2-on-1. And that was one of those plays in house where you see Alex Iafallo streaking through the middle of the ice with time and space, and you were just hoping to get him there. Mikey, audio sounds great according to the chat. I don't know what they've heard me rambling about, but I'm just talking about that second goal here, Mikey, and I'll bring you back in here in a second. But that second goal in-house, that's one of those plays you see Alex Iafallo identify that he's got guys beat early, and he's flying through that middle zone. And Josh Morrissey with the aerial look. And the pass to Lowry. This team goes up 2-0 on a goal early in the first, late in the first, and I thought this was going to be free flowing from there. I thought we were going to see a classic Winnipeg Jets knock him out, throw him around, beat up on a bad team. And we don't get that. We get the Anaheim Ducks making this a 1-goal game with just over a minute to play in the first. And them completing the comeback, moving to 15-0-1 when they score, 3 goals in a game, which is a stat that absolutely blew me away.
Yep.
What stands out to you here, Mikey, as I was at the table a little too long there?
No, I think we really saw tonight what Connor Hellebuyck means to this team. This is one of the very few nights where he was just a little bit off, right? You could say a few of those goals were ones that he would like to have back. And when Hellebuyck is normal, this team can look normal to bad to letting a team like Anaheim hang around who, you know, the broadcast made sure to mention, you know, hey, they've won, 3 games in a row now. They're on a roll. This is you can't take Anaheim. They stink. Like, it's not a great team at the moment. The Jets should have been able to go out there and win that game even on an off night. So it's a little bit frustrating in that sense. Other points that they need to take to keep this momentum going and to keep their spot at the top of the table, right? So, but for me, the takeaway was Hellebuyck. He was normal tonight to, maybe not all that great, and the team in front of him showed it.
Okay, so I'm glad you went there first, because I do put, and it's not often you're gonna hear this in Winnipeg, but I do put a lot of the bulk on this loss on Connor Hellebuyck. Wasn't his best showing, as he was looking for win number 300 on this night. Obviously, a lot of talk about that this week. We saw Adam Lowry bugging him about it yesterday in the media availability, and it was a rare night for him where he didn't look too confident, didn't look comfortable in his crease. That second goal is one that he gets quite often. That's a save we've seen him make time and time again. And I guess the bigger picture question here, because I'm not as down on, I guess, the complete hockey game here, though I don't think it was great either, especially a disappointing one against a team like that to start the new year. But I do think goaltending was that big of a difference in how this game plays out. And on this night, Connor Hellebuyck was the second best goalie to John Gibson.
Yeah, that's not something you're going to say often, right? Hellebuyck is still the best goalie on the planet. He's human though, right? We all have that off night, that off day. So it sucks when it happens on TV in front of, hundreds of thousands of people. But yeah, it just reinforces how much the Winnipeg Jets need Connor Hellebuyck, how important he is to their overall success, how much he masks for them on the nights where he is just incredible. So yeah, that was the big thing tonight. But it sucks losing to Anaheim.
Yeah, it wasn't great. And again, like to see your best player kind of be the big one that stood out in this one, just all bad vibes all around in that regard. Though I got this text at the end of the game, and I want to pitch it to you here. Can the Winnipeg Jets win one without Helly having his A game? Is that a thing that this team's capable of doing?
Well, if you look at Comrie's last 6 starts in a row, no. If you look at a game where Hellebuyck isn't Superman like he was tonight, no. They kind of can't. So it's frustrating. They on a night where a lot of the team is either off or Hellebuyck is off, you would then look to your big stars, your big names to come in to just overtake a game, right? Against lesser opponents, you can have a couple guys who are your top end guys come in and force a win for you, or get it to OT like they did. But we didn't get to see enough to get them the extra point. They got it to overtime, which is great, right? You always want to steal that point where you can. But yeah, I'm annoyed losing to Anaheim. I know.
I get it, and I feel like I'm in the weird mood today because I'm the one I think people expect to come in and hear them beat up on the Jets on a night like today. And as frustrating as it is, and it was annoying to watch, I thought the Winnipeg Jets were and the much better team in this one. They didn't roll them like they normally do lesser end teams, and that's frustrating. But I think you really make an interesting point on the question I pitched there on can the Winnipeg Jets win quality hockey games without Helly on his A game? I didn't even put 2 and 2 together thinking about the Comrie 6-game streak here when I asked that. That's a really interesting angle to it. And we've talked about it. If I'm not mistaken, in those 6 games, Comrie's only gotten 10 goals of run support.
Yes, that's correct. They're not getting him the space up front to even have, a breath. And it's not even like Comrie's been bad in those games. It's not like he's thrown up all over his shoes. He's been fine. It's just they've given him no run support, and they've, they so far in the last 2 months, no, they can't win without Hellebuyck being Superman.
What sucks too is I was fully coming in expecting to get to talk about Connor Hellebuyck's greatness. We didn't get to talk about the last shutout and the numbers he's put up compared to the rest of the goalies in the NHL at this stage. And I was really looking forward to hyping up all of that. And then we get back behind the mic after a game like that. Just a tough one for the Jets goaltender. Though it is something I do wonder too is can this team, and this is kind of like what we're talking about big picture here is everything builds it up to the playoffs and what you kind of need to be able to get through multiple rounds. And I think the Winnipeg Jets have been a pretty good but not elite team despite the record. I think they have a lot of pieces you want. You have the number 1 goaltender. You have the Josh Morrissey. You have a top line over the last month that's finally been something we could actually brag about. But then there's just certain areas in the game that you wonder about, are they going to be there when it matters? Choices. Let's start moving this show into the chat a bit more. Choices points out here too. Jets have 3 wins this year when they don't score a PP goal. Seems like that might be a problem. And it's just what I'm kind of wondering taking away here, and it's one game. Don't want to beat up on everything too much. But I just do wonder if Connor Hellebuyck is not at his best and if this power play isn't the one putting this thing over, what those games start to look like as we get closer to the playoffs.
Yeah, we know that the power play is massively important to their success. We saw it during that historic run. We see it just in the day-to-day when the 5-on-5 numbers are down. So, yeah, those are two spots where they have to be on for the Jets to win. There's a lot of spots right now where when you look at the roster, you go, this has to be this way for them to be successful. There's not a lot of room for error with this roster the way that it's currently built. They need everybody healthy, and they need everybody on their A game to be successful. There's nowhere to hide within this roster right now.
Yeah, and there's some interesting places to go in the chat, but you lead me to somewhere I wanted to go today. The last 2 games, we've seen the blender come back out for the Winnipeg Jets and Scott Arniel in the third period.
Yep.
Now, it seems to be that the blender only exists for the third period of games where he feels the team's not playing well. But again, the 2 switches, the last 2 games, continue to have me intrigued on this idea that if the Winnipeg Jets can break out of their mindset, they could unlock something. I really liked where Scott Arniel went both on New Year's Eve, going to Adam Lowry, Nick Ehlers, and Nino Niederreiter to try and get a spark. And I really liked, though my issue with it, I've talked about this all year. I don't think Perfetti and Ehlers are a pair. I just don't think they think the game the same way. And I think it causes more problems than not. But I really liked Adam Lowry in the middle of those 2 and being able to kind of be the bridge guy of what those 2 guys like to do. Really like that third period line. What's your thoughts on what we've seen from the blender the last 2 games here?
Yeah, we've been a big proponent so far of having Adam Lowry move up and get more, not only more minutes in general, but more offensive minutes with offensive players. It sucks that it comes at the expense of Nino Niederreiter getting left by himself down there. But who would have seen Alex Iafallo all of a sudden come out and actually be real nice and serviceable in a semi-offensive role? But back to Lowry up there. Really happy to see Lowry on a line with Ehlers and Perfetti there. It would be cool if we could mess around a little bit with that top line and kind of see where things mesh with some of the players, but we know that's off the table. But yeah, I love seeing Lowry get those elevated minutes with those guys. I wouldn't even be mad to see Niederreiter hop up on the line with him and Ehlers sometimes, maybe with him and Perfetti. You could kind of play with it that way and get him some minutes depending on how things look in game. But yeah, I really liked that. That the line, even with Niederreiter and Iafallo, the 2 of them seem to actually have a bit of a chemistry going there, especially towards the end of the game. I liked what the 2 of them were doing there. Vlad had a rough go for me from what I saw tonight. Each game gets a little bit more and more tough for poor Vlad Nemestikov. He's not a 2C. He's not a 3C. Like, even just tonight, that was real evident. He's even playing above his head, playing in that 3C role. They need to do something, and it needs to be, hopefully sooner rather than later to get. They need some more help there. They just do, plain and simple. I know we've talked all year about, we're hoping that they go out and get a 1 or a 2C. I don't know if maybe that's even going to be on the table anymore, considering what we heard during the intermissions tonight from our good friend Darren Dreger on TSN. But yeah, it was real evident tonight that Vlad Nemestikov is still playing at a spot where he probably shouldn't be at 3C even.
Okay, so let's go to the blender, then let's go to Dreger, and then I want to touch on Iafallo because I really liked his game in this one. And I see over on Twitch, old Jets fan 66 had mentioned Iafallo really standing out here on this game here. But on the blender, it's so close to where I think the Winnipeg Jets are maximized that, again, I continue to be kind of teased and brought back in with seeing some of this movement. And it was kind of funny. At the game, Jordan and I were talking. Wouldn't it be kind of hilarious, but honestly a really good thing if Mason Appleton getting hurt is what changed the perception of how Adam Lowry could be used? Kind of similar to what happened with Matt Perreault in that 17-18 lineup, forcing a change of look, a change of structure. For one, I've actually really liked Iafallo with that group. The speeds played up there. Obviously responsible defensively, was a beast around the net today. Obviously makes the big goal, the third goal. But he creates that Lowry goal as well. I thought he was all over the ice in this one. I thought his speed really shone. And I see over on Twitch, Choices TK had said Iafallo averaged about 15 goals a year. The Kings, he can clearly produce on a line with good players.
Yep.
Gilbert Marion on the Vlad Nemestikov point that you make, and I'm in a full agreement today on Vladdy. It's getting tougher. Gilbert says Vladdy isn't taking faceoffs. He's clearly hurt. And I do think Gilbert's right here. The one thing that's really stood out, he's not taking draws. He's not shooting the puck. And anytime he has the offensive look, he's spinning out of it and creating more chaos in the offensive zone than what you'd potentially want from guys like Perfetti and Ehlers that are playing with him. It's been a tough thing to watch. I'd like to see Adam Lowry play with one of those groups. If you're going to keep the top line together, which I think there's justification for based on the last month stretch, I would like to see what we saw at the end of the New Year's game for a bit of a stretch here with the Ehlers, Nino, Lowry group. And we know it, and we've talked about it on this show. Perfetti, Iafallo, Nemestikov, for whatever reasons, works. So if that's your group here, it at least gives you an opportunity that if the Ehlers, Lowry, Nino line could click, and I think there's some good parts to it. I do have some concerns about some of the stylistic elements to it. I think it changes this outlook entirely. And you now, because Mason Appleton, and it's crazy that we're talking about the fact that Mason Appleton actually getting hurt creates an opportunity for a team. But they got to take advantage of this stretch and try something with that middle six. And I like, again, Scott Arniel, when he's gone to the blender, I've liked it every time. Now I'd like Scott Arniel just have the balls to stick with that change for a little bit of runway and see where it goes.
Yeah, this was the best what he could have put together with what he had available tonight. I really like the way that it looks. And if you can get that Niederreiter, Lowry, and Ehlers line back together and producing, then you finally have that secondary support that we've been missing for so long. I'm worried. I'm worried that we're going to go right back to it. Appleton's going to come back. He's going to slot back in. Iafallo's going to drop down, and we're just going to keep rolling the way we're rolling, plug and play the way that they have been to start the year. So, yeah, we like what he does with the blender, but he puts it away after one margarita, and that's just no good.
Hey, we got some live news here. We got a live rumor at 10:40 p.m. So let's talk about it before going to the Dreger point here, because I think it'll add to the Dreger point. Thank you, Top Line J. Jordan points it out over on Twitch. Frank Saravelli just put out a report. There's 3 finalists, or 3 teams to watch in the Jonathan Toews comeback attempt. The Winnipeg Jets, the Colorado Avalanche, and the Toronto Maple Leafs. Mikey, fresh rumor, just thinking about it now. How does Mikey feel about Jonathan Toews? I would imagine that's a league minimum deal.
Yep.
Sometime towards the deadline. How does Mikey feel about the idea of potentially bringing in Jonathan Toews on a cheaper contract? Hey!
It's Winnipeg's always going to be part of that group, right? When the rumors start coming about for a hometown story. Am I going to be the bad guy and say I'll pass on bringing Toews in? If the health is there, if everything and this and that and great hometown story, sure. I don't know. It's not the ad that I'd be hoping for from the Jets. It's not the ad that I think is really going to be putting them over in terms of going out and winning a Stanley Cup. I'm sure it'd be great to have the extra, that extra veteran voice in the room come playoff time, a guy who's been there, seen it, done it. That is a intangible that is, you can't measure how much that is worth, right? But in terms of on ice impact, I don't know if I'm jumping out of my seat to go pick him up at the airport.
So this is fascinating, and I think my answer is going to surprise you on if I do it or not. But so I'll start with where I agree with you. I agree with you on the fact that I don't think Jonathan Toews puts the Winnipeg Jets any closer at this stage of his life to winning a Stanley Cup. Maybe not any closer. I think he takes a little bit of a step.
A little.
The fact is, I don't think anyone knows where he's at physically, health, what that game would look like.
Yep.
And I do wonder about how much that health was impacting his final season, which we saw a massive drop off, and that can't be understated either. Jonathan Toews in his last year in the NHL was not a good hockey player anymore.
No, he was a detriment on the ice.
But I will say this. I see the pathways to there being real value here, and I would definitely be involved. I would totally be fine with it if he was willing to do it. The side that no one, at least from fans and as far as like our care level, probably cares about financially for the business, that's a home run for True North.
Oh, yeah. Christ,
As
you'll
far as
sell
getting
so many
Taves'
Taves
name.
jersey.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be cheap. It's not going to cost you assets. And despite what we saw from Jonathan Toews his last year in the NHL, despite the fact he's been gone this long, despite all this, I'm betting on him over Morgan Barron and Rasmus Kupari right now. And those guys are regulars. Like it's not the big impact ad at this stage of his life, but I do think there's room for him to actually bring those intangibles. This is someone that's won it all and won it all multiple times. I've also kind of have slowed down a little bit post Patty Kane coming back from that surgery on former elite guys with those late resurgences. Now Father Time's undefeated, and it has come for Taves once already. I just don't know enough about the health aspect. But it's not the type of signing that's going to have me celebrating and coming onto this show and being all like, the Winnipeg Jets are going to round 3, baby, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a quality little touch point that wouldn't have any like real negative downsides. Spency says, am I taking crazy pills with gasoline? People actually talking about signing Taves. Yeah, Frank Saravelli just put out the report like within 5 minutes ago that those are the 3 finalists for Jonathan Taves, who just recently, was it GQ that he sat down with? One of the bigger old magazines to talk about his trip out to India to try and find health.
Yeah. I'm not planning the parade with that signing, but I might open Google Maps and look at where we could, like I'm not like, it doesn't move the needle very far for me, but
No.
Like you said though, it's the intangibles of having a guy who's done it all is always great. And like Top Line J points out in the chat, True North makes their money back in a week, just on the Taves jersey sales. So,
and I'll say this, I think you're totally right on exactly how you just framed it. If that's the center ad, fuck off. Just no, don't even go down that path. If that's going to be the one, if that's like the third piece to a deadline,
yeah,
okay, why not? It's a depth piece. Why not? Yeah. If that's like we're gonna sell the market on Jonathan Taves coming back after a year out of hockey because he was the Winnipeg kid and he's gonna take us to the promised land, I think True North would have to shove that kind of message. So I agree with you on that. He's not putting this over, but strong face-off guy has won it all. Has that connection. Business would be good. I could see it, man. I could see it.
Yeah. And it's interesting that it's Winnipeg, Colorado, and Toronto, right? 3 teams that, or at least the other 2 teams are right teams you would be expecting that they want to go deep. So they see value. So it's not that, it's a bunch of bottom-feeding teams that are just trying to grab a name to throw on a jersey. So there must be something there if those are the teams that are willing to kick the tires. So who knows? Yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, we'll see. Wasn't expecting to talk about that at all tonight.
Yeah.
Though, Rahul says over on YouTube, and I wanted to get here. So, Mikey, if you're ready, if it ain't Dreger, I don't buy the rumors. And we got Darren Dreger spilling some Winnipeg Jets rumor mill today on the intermission. I have not heard this yet. I was in arena today. Mikey, if you don't mind throwing that on, we'll get a little live reaction and see what Darren Dreger is talking about when it comes to the Winnipeg Jets trade deadline. Oh. Yeah, guys, I could hear. I'll pass it along here shortly. Sorry about that.
Sorry, guys.
Interesting. I don't know what to diagnose from that. Let's get into it a little bit here. Sorry to the chat. I see everyone's letting us know that the YouTubers cannot hear over there. I'll give a quick summary. Dreger, I don't like the way he framed that at the beginning when he says there's wants and there's needs.
Yep.
Went on to talk about the idea that Kevin Cheveldayoff, if an injury doesn't come up for the Jets, it may be more wants than needs, which is not a comfortable framework from where I'm sitting, because the Jets do have needs more than wants if they do want to make a run. Darren Dreger in the clip talks about prioritizing a top 4D, if I understood that right, and a depth center.
Correct.
Which is kind of the opposite of how they've approached that deadline and those needs in the past. So that is kind of interesting. And I know me and you have both been higher on the idea of a legit D-man and then center, though the longer the whole offensive black hole on the second line goes through. It's why the Lowry detail to all this is so important, and seeing if he could play with scoring wingers impacts his team at a level that we haven't seen yet. But the idea that Nemeskov's been solid in the top 9 and you might not need to upgrade there is not comfortable for me. Though this far out too, I don't know if I'm going to overread into anything heading into March, because the Winnipeg Jets have bought every single time they've been in this position. And the end point of they know that they can't spend firsts, I believe that they know that, and we've seen that happen in the last few years. I would be shocked. I think Dreger's doing Chevy a bit of a favor as far as muddying down the market instead of playing it up. I'd be shocked if the Jets don't trade their 2025 first-round pick.
Yeah, and before today, I would have absolutely been like, yeah, of course, that's ridiculous. Why, why wouldn't they? And then to hear Darren Dreger say that, yeah, there are wants and there are needs, and the Jets don't really have needs right now, and that they're really going to be prioritizing maybe more of a depth 3C than a 2, all of us, and they've had to learn a lesson from the Tyler Toffoli trade, and you can't just give out your first round pick. Like, man, that's
who didn't even cost a first.
Who didn't even cost a first. Like, that's, to me, that's a whole lot of signaling from from the organization out to the fans of, hey, I know the want, or the big topic right now is, are we going to go get Elias Pettersson? Are we going to go get a 1C? Maybe we should all just, back up a little bit and start bringing in our expectations, because we might be looking more at a Jonathan Taves as the big signing up front to play 3C with Cole Perfetti and and Mason Appleton.
Yeah, the pairing up the Saravelli and Dreger thing, I totally expect that if the Jets were to sign Taves, that would be their C upgrade, and that is concerning for me, unless we get some rejuvenation that I would not bet on based on his time out of hockey. And I agree with Scott Westman over on YouTube. Says, how many first picks the Jets are still on the main team? It's a wild card. Send it for a player. The amount of first rounders that they've turned into regulars the last half decade compared to the first 5 years or so, or first 6 to the last 6, has been a pretty stark difference. You're also going to be drafting later in the first, so that player is going to be further away and have less value. I'm with Scott. You move it all day. I'll push back on the PD thing, Mikey. I'm going to keep the people and keep the dream alive. You know why? You know what I heard at the end of that Dreger clip?
What's that?
Chevy and a lot of other GMs would rather make a hockey deal right now than maybe mortgage a future. And Chevy's only made, 2 hockey deals that come to mind, but both positively were pretty big swings that people weren't necessarily ready for.
Mm-hmm. Truba and Liney.
significantly smaller than EP. We'll throw that out there. Significantly smaller. That reminds me, though, of the old Evander Kane to Buffalo deal, that kind of framework.
Oh, okay.
And it reminds me of the PLD Line thing. That's a hockey trade.
Yep.
It's going to take some creativity. I'm not ruling it out. And maybe I'm the idiot. Honestly, let's just throw it out there. Maybe I'm the idiot. I would be stunned if the Winnipeg Jets don't buy, and if that first-round pick is still in Winnipeg after the deadline. Stunned. Not buying it.
I was all with you until I heard it from Darren Dreger. Once it comes out of Dregs, man, I get worried. That's the guy when it comes to Chevy. That's his guy. That's the one who lets us know what's coming down to let everybody kind of just get ready. They can prepare. You can hold on. You can lube the truth a bit. So
I should have broke Arneal as the hire before Dreger just to get one up on that fucking guy.
That would have been so good.
Josh Doucette says, heard rumors Nik Antropov is coming back to play for the Jets. Now, that's a funny joke in the midst of the Taves comments. Appreciate that. Alex Iafallo, though. I want to talk about him.
Yeah.
This is a guy that has been largely playing on the fourth line in Winnipeg this year, though it is a guy that's been a bit of a Swiss Army knife when it comes to teams like bottom nines. Not really a top line player ever, but one of those guys that would mix and match with lines and play off different players. We know this is a guy that had success with Gabe Vilardi early in his career. We talked about choices earlier, bringing up the idea that he scores roughly 15 goals a game. Have really liked what I've seen from Alex Iafallo with Mason Appleton moving down. And I thought today was one of the better games I've seen Alex Iafallo play in Winnipeg. Not only just like the points, obviously gets the primary assist and the goal, but the effort level and the speed tonight were something off the charts to behold. And it really seemed like he read off of Nino Niederreiter really well as to when to use that speed into an opening. I just saw something click in there. And I just wanted to talk about Alex Iafallo a little bit. Obviously, this is a guy, penalty kill guy, fourth line guy, defensive specialist kind of thing. But hey, if you got him at half the money his current deal, I think I would prefer Alex Iafallo to signing Vlad Domestikov or Mason Appleton this summer.
Oh God, yeah, I would happily take Iafallo over Appleton and Vlad in the summer if the number was right. Yeah, he was great tonight. This was, especially once he got on the line with Nino, it just it clicked tonight for whatever reason. I was really hoping so. Like, I've been hard on Apples for most of his time in Winnipeg, both stints. He doesn't do it for me. I think you can get guys who do what he does other places at better prices. Nothing against him personally or as a player. It's an overpayment for what you can get and where you can get it. And it's a spot that holds up development for players that you should be trying to see what they have at the NHL level. That's an argument for another day. But Iafallo really showed what that line could look like with somebody who's got offensive instincts in that kind of way. He's had a down stretch the last little bit, but like it was pointed out in the chat and yourself again just a few minutes ago, he's scored 15 goals when he's got the right type of line mates with him, and he can do it consistently. So yeah, it was good. I'm really hoping he can keep the game going in that direction. He can keep those minutes. It'll be interesting to see what happens when Appleton comes back, if everybody just slides back into their pre-assigned positions, as it's been the entire year so far. But, maybe I'm a little too pessimistic.
Yeah, maybe, but understandably so. I see. Frosty Winnipeg says, Iafallo starts the season well with the full tank, starts to disappear, and then recharges when he goes back to Cali. He's only as good as his tan. Are we going to have to start doing the analytics on how dark Alex Iafallo looks and what his play level looks like in comparison? I like that comment from Frosty Winnipeg.
Frosty knows what's up because as a fellow, lizard person, I recharge in the sun. That's where I get all my juice from as well. So that makes sense.
All right, we got a phone call here.
Hey, caller, you're on the landing strip. Thanks for holding.
Yeah, no problem.
Go ahead.
Oh,
hey there, you're live.
Hey,
Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Rahul phoning. How's it going, guys?
Good.
Hey, Rahul, how's it going?
Not too bad. It's not so much on the game today, but just like on thoughts over the last little while. I don't know. You guys are talking about the second line. I know at the beginning of the year, I was willing to give the second line a little bit of, just a little bit of leeway because last year they were decent. But I think right now you're just seeing, like, the lack of another threat offensively on that second line. Like, Nemestikov is playing with one hand right now. And, like, all his goals are, like, cleanup goals, right? Like, he's not a threat offensively. Like, if you look at his stats, I think he's shooting 20% on, like, 20 shots or something like that at 5-on-5. Like, he doesn't shoot a lot. It's just all cleanup duty in front of the net, right? And to me, I know you guys are really high on Perfetti, but I just don't see the offense right now. Like, I'm not trying to say he's going to be bad like 5 years from now, right? Or whatever the case is, but I think they need someone to help push the pace offensively and be another catalyst offensively. Because the whole point of that line to me is Ehlers and Perfetti are supposed to be your two offensive guys, and Nemestikov, a little bit more of a supporting role, two-way stuff, and like I said, cleanup duty. But like when one of those guys aren't pushing it offensively, then you're kind of left with Ehlers. I think Ehlers has still been very good this year, but he hasn't been as let's say prolific or just I was looking at the speed stats, for example. Like, he hasn't been using his speed as much as years past. So like I think he's still been good, but just not as amazing, let's say, as years past. So I think they really need to get another catalyst. I call it catalyst, just someone who can push more offensively on that line and who's really a threat to score. And then additionally, Gabe Vilardi. Like I mentioned this on Twitter too. Like his hands are unreal. I think this year, like if you set up like a highlight reel of just playmaking of the best goals on the team, it'd be all Vilardi, and like he's been unreal. So just want to hear from you guys. What do you think about second line? What are your thoughts on Vilardi for a new contract? And also one more thing. I know it's sacrilegious to say it, but I haven't minded Logan Stanley's game the last few games. I think he's getting involved offensively, and it's not just like the old point shots that lead to nothing. Like, I think he's making some stuff happen, and I don't see it with Heinola. Like, I'm waiting for some offense from him, for example, and when Stanley's pushing a little more offense than you, I'm like, isn't that supposed to be your forte? Like, I don't know. So those are just my thoughts over the last handful of games, guys.
Hey, Rahul, thanks for the call. We're going to have a little bit of a back and forth here because I agree with a lot of what you said, but I'm going to push back on a little bit. Mikey, I'm going to give it to you first, though. I gotta get my thoughts together here.
So on the Cole Perfetti thing, I can start there because I've been leading the banner for the Cole Perfetti fan club. And I actually agree with Rahul when it comes to the impact with Nikolai Ehlers. Ehlers doesn't get to utilize the speed as much on that line because he's playing with two guys who don't play with that same level of speed and play in the same style of game that he would normally be successful doing that in, right? So it absolutely is holding Ehlers back in that way. I would actually like to see Nino Niederreiter up on that line with Lowry and Ehlers and let Perfetti play with Iafallo and Vlad on the third line. I like Perfetti's game, and the points and stuff are definitely going to come defensively and away from the puck. He's been really, really good, and if that means that he's got to play on the third line for a bit with guys who are also able to do that, and Iafallo who can chip in offensively and they can still find something in a better matchup, I'm all for that. I've got absolutely no issue with Perfetti taking a lesser role, especially if it gets Niederreiter more minutes. That's something I've been wanting to see all year. I think we've all been wanting to see that all year, is Nino Niederreiter get more minutes. So, yeah, definitely in for that. And on Gabe Vilardi, he's just a treat, man. He's just a goddamn treat to watch. He might be the best in the league in front of the net right now. Like, it's ridiculous what he can do in close with the puck. So, yeah, it's an absolute treat. We got into his contract re-signing in the last episode that we did. We were both pro having him signed long-term if they can get that done. And you seemed pretty confident that they'd be able to, right?
Everything I've heard, he wants to be in Winnipeg,
Right. So.
which is going to make the next thing I have to say even tougher. So.
Oh no! Here we go. Hit us.
Okay, let's start on the second line. Obviously, this has been an area I've been kind of hammering of late too. The reality is, if you look at the numbers, the second line is the worst line in hockey. Nick Ehlers, Cole Perfetti, and Vlad Domeskov are not good. Let's just put it out back. Let's take it behind the barn and let's shoot it. Let's get rid of it. Let's never watch it again, and let's get rid of it. But this is the problem, and I think Rahul nails it when he says that. The idea is Perfetti and Ehlers are going to be the offensive guys. Vlad's going to be the support guy to create offense. The problem is that's not happening, and it hasn't happened this year. And this is where all the top 9 conversation gets intertwined, because it's frustrating when we have a second line that's used as a second line more and more as the season's gone on. That stinks. The reality is the third line, when it comes to the matchup game, as good as they've been as an identity line for Winnipeg the last year and a half, it was falling apart the last month. And if you looked at last year and this year, the numbers were not nearly as great for that group when you had to hard match them against the other team's best, putting them at a disadvantage. I think this entire look of that top 9 has to be altered, and you're getting the offense of the first line. So I'm fine if you want to keep that together right now, but I need to see some more mixing in the middle 6 and trying some different things, and trying to get more offense out of that group. I agree with Rahul's takeaway on the second line. On Perfetti, I'd kind of talked about when Lambert was up here that we might want to prepare ourselves for the idea that he's going to be a third liner on this team. And again, Nemeskov, him, and Iafallo have been solid if you wanted to go to the Ehlers, Nino, Lowry thing for a bit here. But yeah, I think the second line, you're seeing what happens when you're committed to 2 other groups in that top 9 and you're trying to throw whatever is left at the wall and hoping it just works out and just shoving it. At some point, it's gonna figure itself out. I don't see it stylistically working between Nick Ehlers and Cole Perfetti. I've been pretty consistent on that. I do think you want some more offense out of Cole, and I think that's a totally fair comment as well. Where else did we go here? There was a few things here. Gabe Vilardi. Gabe Vilardi has quickly become one of my favorite hockey players to ever play for the Winnipeg Jets since they've come back. To be quite frank, he's so different of a forward than what we've seen here in this core group for so long. He's so strong on the puck. He wears number 13, which is just a fantastic number choice.
Hell yeah.
The goal today, he's hard on the puck. He outmuscles the guy. And the playmaking, Rahul was talking about, if we looked at the best goals this year, it's probably coming off of Gabe Vilardi's stick. The combination of the strength, the hands, the playmaking, and the ability to put the pill in the net. Gabe Vilardi's this package that's so unique to Winnipeg. And it's a whole lot of fun. It's a real shame that Patrick Alvin's going to go make him a Canuck long term.
Oh, don't do that. Why are you doing that? Why?
Someone's got to be that guy, right? Like, and it's not even an insult to Gabe Vilardi. Like, this guy's, it's probably in the history of Winnipeg Jets. It's like Hellebuck, Morrissey, Vilardi, and Ehlers as like Nick Lynam's guys.
Yep.
Vilardi's like right up. Well, Buff's like always number 1 above everybody else. Vilardi's quickly become one of my favorites. So like, I don't say that lightly. But I'm sorry, if Patrick Alvin called over, there's your headliner. And it wouldn't bother me a little bit. I had to bring a hot take out here at some point. I had to get the people talking. Love Gabe, but if that happens, I'll drive him. I'll drive him to the airport. I've said that before.
And let the chat know exactly what you mean by that, though. Tell them exactly what you mean by where would he and why would he be being signed by Patrick Alvin?
Because he's the piece that's going to bring us Elias Pettersson.
There we go.
That's
right.
Why.
There we go. You heard it here first, y'all.
It's that would probably sting a little, but yeah, we'll leave it there. I was, you know what, Rahul, I gotta say, I'm a little upset with you because I was trying to go a whole show without talking about Logan Stanley and Ville Heinola. Because at the end of the day, just to put it bluntly, I don't think either is going to be a part of this team's playoff lineup. And if the one that I think might be is still, that's a big problem on the org, but probably will be. I do think, to Rahul's point on putting up more offense of late, that, and I know Rahul's into the analytics. I think this is Rahul getting a little too let's play with our food and dessert at the same time with he put up 3 points in 3 games, so all of a sudden he's going to be this offensive guy. It's funny. We've talked about it. Logan Stanley's best skills are in the ozone. I'm not seeing this come up over the last week. I think people are looking at points and making a decision that he's finally figured it out.
Yeah.
I'm still not buying. I look at what I'm seeing from both of them. I think today there was some struggles from Vilardi when it came to the one thing that really stood out to me is clearly in the A and in Finland, he would have beat guys with his speed. And if he had to step on a guy, he would use his arm to protect and go from there. You're not going to get away with that in the NHL. And I thought that was obvious tonight. I still look at how both have played the game over the last stretches, and it's not even close for me. I think, we're getting a little too ahead of ourselves with a couple points for a guy in a career week here. Though I'll say this, if you would have told me that Kyle Connor having an empty net off of a Logan Stanley shot and missing it would cost Logan Stanley a 4-game point streak, I would have called you a liar. They didn't see those roles reversing, I'll tell you that.
Did not see that happening. Yeah, with
But
the Stanley stuff.
The 3 points in 3 games bullshit. Let's settle down.
No, he's getting a shitload of ice time, number one.
20 minutes tonight.
Third most at 5-on-5. Third most on the entire roster.
How do we feel about his play on that tying goal late in the game?
Yeah,
those things matter.
Though
Ehlers turns it over in the ozone pretty bad too.
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. So it just the broadcast tonight was they spent so much time on look at Logan Stanley making a pass. Wow, look at Logan Stanley, he's really progressing. Wow, check out Logan Stanley, everybody. You say if they're both if one of them is still playing come playoff time, you've got concerns. You're gonna have those concerns. He's playing.
Yeah, I know.
He's playing. Playing. There's no question. You just have to accept, and he's gonna play a lot. It
won't be a lot. Dylan Sandberg's right around the corner. Let's not get too facetious here. Let's keep it reasonable here. Hold on a second.
If we're saying everybody's going to be healthy, as long as everybody's healthy, I'm just saying I don't know if that's going to be the case, right? Who gets to the playoffs where you've got your entire top 6, everybody's there and healthy? If Sandberg misses a game, you've got top 4 Logan Stanley in the playoffs.
They're trading for a D-man. They're not going in with this D-core.
They're trading for a right-handed defense, not a left-handed defense.
It's January 2nd. I'm not at that level yet. Come on. We're not going to see 20 minutes of Logan Stanley come playoff time. And if we do, Mark Chipman should sell the team. Kevin Cheveldayoff should be fired. Scott O'Neill should be back on the unemployment line that he was on for a decade. I refuse to even pretend that that's going to happen.
All right. I'll hold on for now. I won't jump off the ledge. I'll do my best.
I see Phyllis is not too happy with me saying that the Macarena man is Vancouver bound. I gotta say.
I mean, if it's Elias Pettersson coming back, I think it'll be all right.
I'm logging into the old Uber. Let's go to the 3 stars and let's get out of here on this first landing strip of the new year here. So, Mikey, before you do your 3 stars, and I'll let you lead the way, Josh Doucette sneaks a good question in on YouTube here. Let's get to it. Says, any thoughts on Chevy trying to up Stanley's value by playing him so much for trade bait? In which I will say that is the one thing I will never believe, because that's what I've been telling myself for 4 years, and he is still here. He asked for a trade. His agent reached out to a reporter on the day of the deadline thinking that dropping this Logan Stanley trade request news was going to make his client some trade, and Chevy still didn't do it. So sorry, Josh, I can't see it. I'd be stunned.
Yeah, no, they've publicly asked for it. It didn't happen. And unfortunately showcasing him is not letting him play, because the majority of the time that he is out there over the course of this season has not been good. It hasn't been positive. Yes, there's been some nice points there lately. He didn't completely vomit all over himself today, although, again, on that second goal, it wasn't great. So it just, no, I don't buy the showcasing for a trade type of thing. Plus, Chevy likes his first-round picks. Those are his guys. He's not going to trade them until he's at gunpoint kind of thing because he believes that he can still make it work most of the time. Unless it's a hockey trade, which is, again, totally a different scenario, right? We've talked about, but yeah, I don't see it as a showcase. I'm sorry.
A Logan Stanley hockey trade might scare me more. Okay, 3 stars. Let's get out of here.
All right, 3rd star. I'm giving it out to the chat tonight because you guys are the fucking best. Thank you for hanging in with us while we worked out some of those audio issues and things not showing up and all that. Hanging with me while I recover from some health stuff. So much appreciated. You guys are all the best. Had to give you guys that one. Number 2, I'm giving it to Good Luck Gabe, Mr. Vilardi. He's just so much fun to watch. We've said it since the beginning of the season. As Gabe Vilardi goes, the Winnipeg Jets go. When he's on his best, that top line is just a completely different beast, and he's been so good lately, and lo and behold, the top line has looked real good lately. So he's so important, I think, to that group. Is just unreal. So I got to give it up to Gabe. And number 1, how can it not be Alex Iafallo? That guy is just having fun out there tonight. He's playing in an elevated spot from where he's been, kind of stuck on the 4th line all year. He gets those elevated minutes with some better offensive players, and he shows out tonight. So good for Iafallo. I hope that keeps it up. Number 1 star.
So I'm going to go with number 3 star tonight. The fans in the stands that brought the duck calls. And they were going on those things all 3 periods. That's a commitment to the bit. So I'll give it to the fans in a different way here.
Hell yeah.
Number 2, I'm going to go Lows. Adam Lowry. Really, really liked his game with both lines. Thought he helped unlock something for the 3rd period with Nick Ehlers and Cole Perfetti. Would like to see him play 2C in Winnipeg until there's a center brought in. Thought this was a great game from Adam Lowry. And this, I'm pretty sure this is a first. Alex Iafallo, number 1 star. I thought he was an absolute dog out there.
Yeah.
The work ethic was off the charts. He's really fit in well on a line that they want to be defensive. Really liked Alex Iafallo in this one tonight.
And shout out to the first-time chatter on Twitch, Old Drex, with the Tanalytics comment for Alex Iafallo. We're going to set up the Tanalytics. I love it.
Turd got that over on YouTube as well.
Excellent.
And to end the show, Rahul, this is exactly where we agree. Rahul says, I can see the Jets bringing in another body for 3rd pairing D, to be honest, and I think that's where this is going to end up as well.
I hope so. I really hope so. All right, everybody.
Thanks again, chat. We'll talk to you, I guess, Saturday. We got the Saturday 6 o'clock start now.
Yeah, that'll be a good one. All right, guys, you know the drill. Tell 2 friends to tell 2 friends. You rate, review, and remember, it's the landing strip for Winnipeg Jets postgame shows.